What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some new Transformers cards that we need to be having a little bit of a look at. And these cards, ladies and gentlemen, well, they're Decepticon only. They are the last couple Decepticon only cards that we need to have a look at from Wave 3, War for Cybertron Siege. So let's have a little bit of a look, starting off with Frag. Now, we are a couple weeks out from the game, as in Set 3 being released. My aim is to try and get through all the battle cards. I think there were one or two that I missed when we were looking at Rise of the Combiners. I'm hoping that won't happen this time. So Frag then, white icon we like. It's very nice. It means that when you're flipping it while attacking or defending, you get to flip an extra 2 cards. You need some white in there. Now, of course, I did have a look the other day at Private Taraxodon, and I suggested that if you were playing around with Private Taraxodon, you might wish to, go very white in terms of your choice of icons. Though if you're going to do so, then you really do need to figure out a whole bunch of white cards that you can use. So Private Taraxodon turns into Binary Edgewing Scythe, and that puts your opponent's defense down to 0 if you can flip double white icon. And then I suggested maybe you play around with characters like Jazz or Mirage from Wave 1, who, well, they love their white icons. And this will work. But what does it actually do? Oh, and incidentally, I know I just named a couple of Autobots, not unfortunately a mistake. Kind of making the point here that, because the other one's Chromia, in terms of the characters that really like white icons, and they're all Autobots, that makes me legitimately sad. But maybe the card can redeem itself. Your opponent chooses one of their characters and does 1 damage to it. If your starting team was only Decepticons, your opponent does 1 more damage to the chosen character. Now, one of the things to point out about this right off the bat, your opponent chooses who takes the damage. And we've got, unfortunately, a couple ways to stop this. So Motormaster, for instance, will protect every non-Motormaster character from this non-direct, non-attack damage. Okay. So, as long as you choose someone that isn't Motormaster, unfortunately for you, if you're playing this card, if you're playing Frag, bad news bears. We can also see Captain Ironhide and Captain Ironhide in alt mode cannot take non-attack damage. So if your opponent plays this and you direct the damage towards Captain Ironhide, which you are very much allowed to do, yeah, you don't take the damage. So that's a bit of a pain. It is very similar to Zap from Wave 1, or indeed Heavy Landing from the Devastator deck, which was essentially Wave 2. Outside of a Devastator deck, they both do exactly the same thing. They do 1 damage to one of your opponent's characters, Zap having an orange icon, Heavy Landing having a blue. Now, the good news is this has a white icon, so you've now got a card for each of the 3 main icons. The bad news, and it is bad news, your opponent chooses where the damage goes. That makes it as a card significantly weaker than Zap or Heavy Landing. Now, being able to do 2 damage is great, and really this does seem to be a card that you want to use entirely with Decepticons. So let's say for argument's sake you're playing Shockwave. Well, the good news is that the Wave 1 Shockwave has the amazing skill in bot mode, whereby every time your opponent scraps a card from their hand, they have to choose one of their characters and take a damage counter to it. But again, it is very much up to them which character they choose. This can backfire. This can go rather wrong, unfortunately. And look, Double Shockwave is one of the decks I'm most excited about really getting into the testing of when War for Cybertron Siege comes around. And I love that this does 2 damage. I mean, to put it in context, Plasma Burst does 2 damage, but Plasma Burst has no battle icon because doing 2 damage is too gosh darn good. This does 2 damage and has a white icon. And I know it only does 2 damage if you started entirely Decepticons, but come on. you're really playing this in a deck where you're starting entirely Decepticons. The biggest issue here is your opponent gets to choose where the damage goes. It's not necessarily a game breaker, but we've got sideboards happening. And one of, as far as I'm concerned at least, one of the best characters we've got for sideboarding is Motormaster, because Motormaster is an extremely cheap character. It's a 5-star character that can protect all your other characters from such cheeky damage. And I do expect this to make its way into a bunch of side decks, meaning that when your opponent's trying to use stuff like this, they just can't because you're hiding behind it. That's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. That's a problem. I like it. I like that you can do 2 damage. I love the white icon. But honestly, Autobots want the white icon, and this is too easy to play around. I'm not saying Decepticons don't want the white icon. I'm saying if you want to go for a full white icon deck, I gave you the 4 best characters earlier, and they're all Autobots. HV Electron Breacher, though, maybe we can do a little bit better. It is a card, it's an upgrade weapon. It can only be put onto Decepticons. It has a black pip. Each one you flip while attacking gives you Pierce 1 until end of turn. And it gives you +2 attack. This is kind of nice. This really is one of those cards that you're playing for the black icon. You are playing this because you really want to put black icons into your deck. If you don't care about black icons, might I suggest Primary Laser? Because you see, Primary Laser also gives you +2 attack. It's got a blue icon which helps you out while you are defending. And it can be put on any one Decepticon or otherwise. So frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this you're playing for Pierce. You're playing for the black icon. Now, I've had this discussion with a few people since these black icons were revealed, and the people that I've spoken to seem a little bit mixed. Where I come down on the black icons generally is, we see that they are generally objectively weaker. They are generally worse cards, but you get the black icon, so it's kind of worth it. If we take Rock Toss as an example, you do 1 damage to a tapped enemy. Well, that is just a much worse zap, because zap can do tapped or untapped. But you've got the black icon, so it's okay. And I think we've got the same thing here. I mean, +2 attack is just not great. And let's face it, right, if you want a card that does +2 attack, which can only be put onto Decepticons, how about Scoundrel's Blaster? Because Scoundrel's Blaster gives you the +2 attack, plus it's got a green icon, so if you flip it while attacking or defending, you can swap it for a card in your hand at the end of the battle, making it easier to find. Plus you get the blue icon, plus you get PS2 when you're attacking an Autobot. And I think that last point might potentially be the death knell for HV Electron Breacher. Because the fact of the matter is, PS2 is better than PS1. Now, they're not exactly the same, because HV gets you the Pierce when you flip it while attacking, whereas Scoundrel's Blaster gets you the Pierce when you attach it. But having said that, they both give you +2 attack. Scoundrel's Blaster's got the green icon making it easier to find, and it gives you PS2. Now, admittedly, only against an Autobot, so there'll be a bunch of times where you're not able to use it. But if you want +2 attack, Scoundrel's Blaster is better. And when it's attached, it's just better. And it's easier to find. So we end up like so many of these black icon cards going, look, I don't think it's a phenomenal card, but I do think that if you're going for a deck of a bunch of black icons, then it's absolutely worth playing around with. But that's got to be your thing here. If you're playing it because you want the black icon, I'm all in favour. If you don't want the black icon, look, there's still an argument, but most of the time I'd rather play Scoundrel's Blaster, because we're going to get it because you're either going to draw into it or flip it while attacking or defending. I'd rather have guaranteed PS2 that I know I can have, rather than PS1 if I flip it while attacking. Maybe that's just me. The one thing we do need to remember here is that new major shockwave, when it is in bot mode, does allow you to play the top card of your deck as if it's in your hand, if it is a Decepticon card or a secret action, but we're not worried about them right now. So maybe that's a reason here. Maybe that's a reason, but then again, Scoundrel's Blaster would still work. I'm not massively enamored with either of these cards, but there are certainly uses, and you could certainly have a bunch of fun with them. I'd like to know the kind of fun you're expecting to have with them, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about games like Transformers and a whole bunch of others. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.